Okay, so every single video that we've made this season so far regarding this player has talked about how he's been subpar. It's gone over how he's in the sophomore slump. It's talked about how last season he was really good, and this season he's been paired with a guy that really doesn't help him out all too much, and as a result he's suffering in terms of his on-ice play. Well, today we're talking about a guy on the Red Wings system that everybody seems to love, myself included, and how he's sort of bounced back and maybe wasn't even all too bad in the first place. Let's talk today about 2022 Calder winner Moritz Seider. Because last time we had talked about Seider, we talked about the slump, we talked about the second-year blues that Seider was exhibiting, how playing with a guy like Ben Chiarot unfortunately really wasn't working out all too well. Now, if you asked me before the season began how that pairing would have gone, I would have been like, oh, that would be a pretty good pairing. Like, I like both those guys, they're very talented, I think that their playstyles would complement each other pretty nicely, but for some reason, it just didn't work, and Seider ended up getting the brunt end of the negative feedback as a result. Seider this season is not on the same point production pace that he was at last year, where he had 50 points in 82 games played. This season, the guy has 18 points in 40 games, so he's on pace for roughly 37 points, but I will say that most of those points did come in the last few days worth of play. Sure, 18 points in 40 games played is not terrible, but it gets a little bit more easy to see why things were sour when you acknowledge that he's got 5 points in his last 2 games, including a 4-assist night against the Winnipeg Jets on Tuesday. Now, as we had said, this entire video is talking about Seider in a more positive light, and what I wanted to do was head over onto Detroit Hockey Now to help us out in that respect. This article was published by Kevin Allen, and it was from 2 days ago after the 4-assist night against Winnipeg. The numbers are lying about how well Moritz Seider is playing. The link will be in the description if you want to go ahead and read this piece. I do recommend you do, but pretty much it opens up by talking about how Seider goes as the Red Wings goes, and that's the price for being the go-to guy of the Red Wings defense. He draws the toughest matchups, he logs the most minutes against the best opponents. If the rebuilding Wings aren't at the top of their game, or the goalie isn't sharp, or someone misses an assignment, his plus-minus suffers even if he's not at fault. That's why Lalonde hasn't fretted that Seider sits as a minus 13 as the Red Wings approach the halfway point of the year. There is a stat included of Seider and his 4-assist night. Moritz Seider became the 4th active defenseman with a 4-assist game at age 21 or younger, joining Samuel Girard, Cale Makar, and Drew Doughty. Furthermore, he became the first Detroit defenseman to record 3 assists in a single period since Nick Lidstrom did so in the 3rd period of a game in 1988. He's the first Detroit defenseman to record 4 assists since Mike Green did it against the Minnesota Wild in 2017. Lalonde said that he was far and away the best player for Detroit against the Jets. Lalonde also said this, that Seider has had some off nights and some that just turned into some turnovers and some puck play for him, but he's been pretty darn consistent, maybe an uptick as of late. Lalonde also talked about his defending and his puck play. Tonight, in the game against Winnipeg, special teams, obviously great in the penalty kill. Seider was good in the power play, just a complete game overall. For me, we want to avoid egregious turnovers. Some of those games he struggled earlier in the year, he was turning the puck over a lot, putting himself in bad situations. He was just a complete player tonight. He's 21 years old, so there's going to be some inconsistency with this game, especially with how much we ask of him. Lalonde also talked about how Seider's underlying numbers have been strong all season, which is another reason why he's unconcerned about an ugly plus-minus rating, and he grades Seider on a different set of factors. There also are some quotes in this article in particular. This is why I said I want you to read this, because this is pretty deep. From Jake Wallman, Seider's more recent defense partner, and a player who is very obviously not Ben Chiarot. He's been working pretty well with Seider, a lot more so than the aforementioned former Canadien did. But when it comes to Wallman and his perspective on what Seider brings and how good he is as a player, he's got a crazy level of confidence, Wallman said. You can see it anywhere on the ice. I try to give him the puck, and then in the O-zone, I think we work well that way. I kind of feed off him, he feeds off me, and like I said, I think the biggest thing I've noticed is in the D-zone. I try to be tenacious, but I just love watching him battle guys. It's fun. He's a beast. He's a world-class player, Wallman said. I love it. He doesn't get enough credit for his D-zone coverage as well. It's real easy playing with him. He can break the puck out his own. He's a one-man wrecking crew back there. It's fun playing with him. He worked really well off the ice. I just want him to keep going. There are a few more quotes in this article from Lalonde, from Seider himself, and from Wallman expanding on, just the play and actually Wallman's favorite Texas restaurant, which is interesting to note. But either way, this is a pretty interesting perspective to talk about when it comes to Seider and his play this season. It's kind of funny, but this kind of coincides with other guys in the wings who have been reigniting their games as well. Lucas Raymond, for one, has been very good as of late. He's been on a little bit of a heater too. Take a look at his point production. In his last 5 games, he's got 6 points. In his last 10 games, he's got 10 points. It's a pretty good step up for a guy that is under a point per game like Raymond is. Seider, of course, had the 4-point game, and he got another goal against Toronto the game after that. So this has been a pretty good stint for Seider as well, but it's just really assuring, seeing from the comments made by Lalonde and from Wallman that everybody is still as confident in Seider as we were in him last year. And I think for many Red Wings fans watching the games, you could see that Seider is still Seider. He just hadn't been as consistent or as polished as you would have wanted him to be playing with a guy like Ben Chiarot earlier on in the year. Now, is that Seider's fault per se? No, I mean, the guy is 21 years old and he's playing his second season in the top hockey league in the world, so I do think there's some ability to forgive that goes around there, but just acknowledging that there has been significant improvement ever since the change in pairing, ever since the season had reached the halfway mark, this is where guys like Moritz Seider will start to shine, because as he gets a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more in-game shape, I feel, this is a guy that can work so much and not get tired because of it, that I think he does have a little bit of an edge over everybody else, especially when you consider that he is so important for the Red Wings. He is the guy on their D-core. They rely on him so much that getting into his routine, getting into his A-game, especially this far into a year, it's supposed to feel like a routine for him. And I feel like now, with Wallman on his side, it's sort of working out well, because Wallman has been playing pretty well too. I mean, I'm seeing all the clips and all the tweets from everybody praising Jake Wallman and his overtime gritties and everything. It's kind of fun to see, is it not? Like, you certainly won't see that out of Ben Chiarot, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Moritz Seider, sophomore slump and all, this is still a player that's going out there and playing well, and he's been playing extraordinarily well the past little while, so much to the extent that he's kind of breaking out of that shell of being a sophomore slump kind of guy. So talk to the comments your thoughts about Seider and the way that he's played so far for the Wings, especially with Wallman as a pair. Link will be in the description if you want to go ahead and read the article and see the extra quotes. Let me know in the comments as well, how many points do you think Seider is going to finish the season off with? We all know that he had a rough start, and he's on pace for 37 total right now, but with 5 points in his last 2 games, anything can happen in terms of the overall number. So you can let me know in the comments if you think this little stint will carry over, if he starts to become more of a point per game-ish kind of guy, if he settles at 37 points as his projection, or if he's really able to break past the 50-point mark he had last year. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.